Rich. Lenses.
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 What about lenses?
Lenses. Lenses.
So...
What are lenses?
What are lenses? The last year, pretty much everything I've shot from the beginning of time till early this year has been shot mostly on Sigma art glass, which I loved.
Homeless Ashes on Sigma lenses.
Yeah, so I shot that on the Sigma lenses, and they're very super clean, super clinical, really nice lenses. They're like the go-to for anyone who's definitely new to the game and stuff like that, and they're a great price and stuff like that. So it's strange to kind of change onto something, but I've always been fascinated by anamorphic lenses. That, for those you don't know, it was when cinema needed to be something different from TV, which was the kind of square screens. So they were like, how do we've only got this size negative, like on the film, we can't make the film bigger, so how do we fit more image on that to make it different? So what they did is they got a lens that squashed the image onto the same bit same bit of negative for the film, and then in post,
this is where my question marks come up.
in post or in the cinema back then, because so they'd have another lens on the projector that does the opposite, that brings it back to wide, so you'd fit twice as the wide on the smaller negative.
This is why I always leave it to the DOP part way with lenses.
So that's why it came about, but it's got such a funky look to it, and it has like it makes the edges like kind of out of focus, and barrel distortion, which is when it kind of bulges. And there's a lot of problems with those lenses, but in a way that we're so now used to feeling as very Hollywood, and it makes it feel different from life. And I think we've gone through the stage now with kind of where on a low budget people have got really clinical lenses, like you could get stuff that everyone's going for the sharpest, cleanest thing because they want it to look as clean and as cool as possible. But now we're kind of at the top end of that,
going past that kind of phase of like feeling a bit more alternative and creative.
And like people are going, well, now I want to kind of have a bit of funk in there. And also like anamorphic lenses until the last few years have been up to, £60,000 for a lens, and even the cheapest ones like the Atlas Orions and stuff are still around 20 grand or something like that. And so like when Great Joy came along,
what one's that? Is that the one? Have we used those yet?
I haven't used these on Jitters. I've been using these on Remembrance.
Oh, sick. Okay.
So these are the Great Joys. They're the first like anamorphics I bought, and they've got a nice solid build to them.
Quite heavy as well.
Yeah,
right?
but this is the first ones they made, and I think they realised that their name was not the best.
Do you feel that kind of gives you problems with the Ronin? Like when you're using like the Ronin and the gimbal and stuff.
The only problem I have is going from them to the other ones, because the other ones are so much lighter. I have to keep
because the weight
back and forward. So that's the only thing. But it does take that on the Ronin. I've used them a lot, and they're lovely lenses. These are 2 times, so they'll stretch it by 2 times.
Okay.
So they're really, really wide. You actually have to, when on a 16:9 recording, you have to cut quite a bit off the sides.
Yeah.
But this is what I've been using. They're a lot sharp. They're really sharp, actually, these for anamorphics. I've been having a great time with these. But Great Joy ended up changing their name because they realised it was a bit rubbish.
I like it.
Great Joy!
Yeah, you're going to get a great joy out of these lenses.
They changed their name to Blazar.
So they're the same company?
Same company. They changed their name to Blazar, and they brought out the Remus lenses. This is the only one I've got.
Do you know
in the
what?
box.
Even though you've used these on Jitters, I've never...
You've never held one?
I've never held one.
You've kicked one over and smashed it.
Did I? I was like... I was pissed off.
That's funny.
Did I? Was that the one? So this was the one that I kicked?
Yeah, so it was the Ronin was kind of down the floor and you kicked it and it buckled all the front end of the Blazar, so I had to get that repaired. Thanks, Marc. Thanks, that was really good. But so they changed their name to Blazar and they've released the Remuses, which have got a lot more character to them. They've got more out of focus, they've got a lot of chromatic aberration, they've got more bulging.
Actually, it's quite interesting as well, because when you look down the lens, you can see it's a bit more oval as well. Sorry, go on. More bulging.
More bulgy. And they just got so much character, and like you came to me and you're like, do you know what I love? love to have that kind of vibe for Jitters is how the new Batman has been
I
shot.
love the cinematography on the new Batman. It's great.
That to me is the best cinematography I've seen in the last decade. It's just gorgeous looking, and lots of people agree, and I think people are starting to push that way. Now, that was shot on a few different types of lenses, but these have a very similar look where you're kind of having all that funk and having those errors.
Do you know, can I just say something there as well? Do you know what's quite interesting about that? Because I remember you saying to me when we was discussing about cinematography for Jitters, you said that the lenses that you wanted to get these, because I remember you sending me saying, look, this is what we want to go for with the Batman, like these are the lenses that we need for it, because it blurs around the edges.
Yeah.
And since you've said that, I can't watch a film now without watching the film and seeing some of the edges blurred. And I realised they used it on House of Dragons.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, on House of Dragons, I realised, because it's like, they're using the lenses that Blazar, or whatever it is, like the ones that are like blurred around the edges. And I was like, great, like this showed me as a director, and mainly as a producer, that this is in. Like, people are using this. This is popular now.
You start to notice it a lot. I've noticed it loads in films at the moment. I went to see the new Quiet Place, the prequel one. Day one, that's it. There weren't Blazars at the shop, but the quality was very like lots of funk around the edges, lots of blurriness, lots of warp on the edges, and I'm like, it looks great. But like, the more you kind of get into it, the more you start noticing it, like you're saying, and picking it out and going, this, that sort of thing. And literally now, like, it's funny because you kind of cotton on to something and go, oh, I've found this. But now, literally, every YouTuber, every flipping thing is using these. Like, I've even seen, there's a guy called 1000, and he runs a drawing channel. Like, he draws and does, like, graffiti stuff and painting. And
he uses the same kind
and
of
I saw these on his desk, and I'm like, flipping it.
Like, no!
They're not even cinematographers. But it's because they're great.
I'm always trying to orchestrate the whole film set. So obviously, when you're orchestrating the whole film set with everyone, obviously, I always get invested into people's roles, like especially as a DOP. Like, from the Sigma lenses and this one, like, I have noticed the difference with the flares on the camera as well have been like very different. Like, rather than your very common flares that you'd normally get if you get a flashlight and go past, there's kind of like a nice little ray, like a different kind of ray. If that makes sense.
So it's like that's probably the main tell that people know about Anamorphics is you shine a light, it has a streak across the screen, and we have a lot of that in Jitters, especially with the B7C. Like, the light on his head is just straight across the whole screen.
I liked it. I thought that was really cool because it kind of created like the world that like we're creating in this void. Like, you can see here in this clip, like how the ray is just going past like AD's face, the stunt man, and Jitters' bulb is just like, and it's there, and you see the flare. Like, I noticed that yesterday when we was editing, that the flare was very different than what you would normally get, because sometimes it can look quite harsh. Yeah. Where this one had a bit of a softness to it.
It's a softness to it, but it's across. But we've kind of like, lots of people will use like a matte box to try and suppress the certain flares and stuff like that, but I've kind of gone like, what will be with these, because I like that. And there's some scenes where you get so many, like, even when he's outside and there's like street lights and car lights and there's just streaks everywhere, and it's like, is this a bit much? And I'm like, to be honest, it's kind of the vibe of the film, just kind of letting it be, letting that organicness flow and seeing how it goes. I kind of like
Tell you what lens I'm very intrigued about, and it's, I think, because as a director it makes me want to experiment with more in film. It's because I feel like sometimes, like you said, like, we're kind of shifting into this filmmaking world where we want a bit of that, let's say, creative alternativeness and a bit different. There's these new macro lenses that I want to try, because they're, like, for me as a film director, this is the kind of shots that really you want to capture, like the hairs going up on the skin, and they're very detailed. You can get that now, but like this one is like, I think it's called lower lenses, and it's like I think you can get like the dimples and sweat dripping. Like, that's something that I feel I want to invest in for potentially last resort.
They're not that expensive either.
Are they not?
No,
okay, no. So it might be worth just getting those lenses, because just getting that and getting those little details, I think people start to feel like, for me as a director, like, if you could see like the hairs go up on someone's skin, like you start to feel that as a person when you're watching that as well, like what that person, because you've probably experienced it yourself.
Yeah.
So I think experimenting with all these developed lenses that are coming out, I'm excited to see what comes next as well. I'm buzzed.